Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another reaction video. And Fireball is not here with me. It sucks, but you can check out the community post or my Twitter post about what's going on. But I promised you all something really special. I have with me one of my good buddies who I play D&D with, and as an understatement, as I heard, he not just only likes Black Clover, he loves Black Clover. Because today's episode's Deku versus Asta. Would my guest like to introduce himself?
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm a huge Black Clover nerd. I literally have it tattooed in my skin. So, like is an understatement. But yeah.
Like, it's more than like Josh loves the show. He got me kind of into it as well when we were talking about it because Bleach didn't come back on, and I kind of really dig the show too. Um, and of course, as soon as Asta got revealed, not only did I get excited, but I'm like, I should get Josh to watch this.
Yeah, I haven't seen Death Battle since I was like a teenager, an early youngish adult. I'm not that old, but
You're only
yeah, no.
slightly older than me.
Only slightly.
But yeah, I thought this was your first ever Death Battle, to be fair, and it's just like I had no idea. But again, today's episode is Deku versus Asta, and before we talk more on Black Clover, do you have any history with My Hero Academia?
I do actually. So I've been reading the manga. Um, I'm caught up in the manga, and I'm currently caught up in the current season of My Hero. So I'm a fan of both. So it's kind of like a pick and choose right now, because it's like I like Deku as a hero, but some of his principles I don't necessarily like. If you were to translate it into real world, it's very naive,
A little.
basically.
Um,
But they're both good MCs in their own right. Don't
oh,
get me wrong.
definitely, because like the gimmick of this fight, as I like to put it, it's the next gen shonen protagonist born without powers, but they train hard to become the number one of their world.
Yeah, that's that's absolutely correct.
And as we were talking about earlier, My Hero I thought was pretty cool. It took me a season to really get behind Deku, but I think My Hero's pretty decent. As for Black Clover, oh boy.
Oh, it's peak. It's just gotten better over time, and Tabata has done so much to not only orchestrate and show off like Asta as like the MC and his struggles, and like how he has to deal with feeling inferior when you compare Asta to the rest of his comrades, but like the rest of the cast, it he gives life into not just like carbon copy cutouts of like other shonen side characters, like the loudmouth annoying character, the secretly in love with mate MC girl character. Like it's I love Tabata's writing. Plus some of the reveals, especially if you've been keeping up with the manga, they're fucking good.
Uh, yeah, and like the thing is, I told Josh this before we recorded. Death Battle is going to take a look at the mangas of both Black Clover and My Hero, but luckily you're caught up on My Hero, so
Yep.
um,
Yeah.
we do this all the time with me and Fireball before we watch the episode. If you were to say who you think wins between Deku and Asta, who do you think wins?
Oh, okay. So this can be a toss up. Let me just okay. In terms of raw strength, Deku's got it in the bag. No, Asta has it in the bag. Let me correct that. Asta in raw strength alone, Asta has it in the bag. I mean, the man can lift that sword no problem. One-handed, no problem. Like he's buff, especially when you consider like the start of the series to post time skip. Dude's got abs upon abs upon abs. He's jacked. But Deku, on the other hand, he's got utility. With his whole quirk and all the other quirks inside the quirk, he's got utility. He's got float. He's got black whip. He's got super strength and like super speed and stuff like that. Especially when you compare just strength versus utility, there's a lot of leeway, so it's kind of hard to gauge. But my personal feelings is I think Asta's got it in the bag. I think Asta has it.
That is what I also went with. I think Asta most likely wins. I do think Deku might be stronger, though, is my main thing. But I do think Asta's faster. He's got more of those swords, so Deku's not going to predict every single one of them. And I don't think there's anyone in My Hero that has the kind of abilities Asta does.
There's not. And Asta's very, like, quick on his feet and, like, quick to react. Whereas, if you look at, like, canonically speaking, Deku's in his head a lot. He's like, okay, this person's doing this, so I should counteract. Whereas Asta is just straight from the get-go, I'm doing this. Like, the whole scene when, Langris was going to hurt, what's his name? I forget his name.
Yuno?
Not Yuno, Langris's brother. The one that's basically used as teleportation for Captain Yami. Like, it was Magna, Luck, and Asta straight on the get-go. Like, they straight up were like, you touch him, you die. And that was such a cold scene. Such a badass moment.
Alright, and let's just say Deku wins this. As a Black Clover fan, are you going to be that upset if they give a good reasoning to why Deku wins, or...?
No. Because in my head, Deku has utility. Plus, he has other quirks that they haven't really gone in depth about. So,
alright.
I don't think I'd be upset either which way. It's a showdown between from zero to hero protagonists.
I set this up so you can also watch it, which would be nice for you. Alright, so safe to say we're going to go with Asta, and because you haven't seen the show in such a long time, Josh, I'll just remind you how the rundown will go. It'll go, they'll talk Deku, they'll talk Asta, and then after they talk about Asta, before the fight starts, we'll talk about what we learned, and see if we change our opinions.
Okay.
Alright, you ready?
I'm ready.
And I am legit been nervous the past 2 weeks about this.
Deku, My Hero Academia's super student, straight out of UA High.
Asta, the anti-magical ass kicker from Black Clover.
Though you may be born bereft of the same gifts as your peers, there is nothing stopping you from achieving your dreams.
As long as you're a fictional character in a fantasy world. I mean, as long as you've got your friends by your side, you'll pack a hell of a punch. He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win.
If you need me to pause at all, you just let me know, and you can talk during this if you need
Izuku
to.
Midoriya wanted only one thing from life. To be a beacon of hope, just like his idol, the #1 ranked superhero in Japan, All Might.
Yay.
Too bad he was born a freak with no powers. You heard right. This is like a reverse X-Men thing where 80% of the population gets red superpowers, or quirks as they're called, while the remaining fifth are stuck as basic bitches. Or as his spiky-haired bully Bakugo called him, Deku.
That's a pun on the Japanese word dekunobu, meaning good for nothing.
Persevering despite his basic bitchedness, Midoriya got the chance to prove his quirkless
Katsudan.
heroic mettle against this giant sludge monster, much to the surprise of one particular almighty onlooker.
His body secretly decaying from a horrific injury, All Might needed to find the one who would inherit his all-powerful quirk.
And All Might didn't want just anybody. The hero world was filled with glory seekers in it for fame and money. All Might wanted someone whose body moved on its own to save someone.
He saw exactly that in young Midoriya, and gave him one of the most powerful quirks in the world, one for all.
That was the problem. Even after bulking up from lad to Chad, the recoil from even one punch would shatter all the bones in his arm. So he trained
Okay,
to be able
so
to
it's like
handle
being
his
a barbarian,
gift
got
at
it.
the Superhero School of
Yeah.
Extremes, UA High.
And that's when he decided to own the name used as a cudgel against him for so many years. Turns out, Deku can also be an abbreviation for Dekiru, someone who can do anything.
So many
Exactly
meanings
the
behind
opposite
this.
of Dekunobu. One for All allows Deku to release absolutely absurd amounts of strength
Okay,
from different parts of his
Gearshift
body.
and
with
Fajin
super
I'm
moves
not
named
too
after
familiar
US
with.
cities
Hopefully they
and
explain
states.
those.
Deku still can't access all of his power safely.
Airshift
Using
is
100%
basically,
will quickly
think
destroy
of
his body, which is why he
Luffy's
learns to
gear
distribute strength
changes in
evenly
One
across
Piece.
his body,
Oh,
a technique
okay.
known as full cowling.
Yeah.
This lets him increase his speed and durability as well, making him more all-rounded, and shifting focus to his own interpretation of One for All inspired by his pal Ida, shoot style.
Where he pulls out a Glock and blows your brains out.
Ha!
Okay, not really, but in keeping with One for All's rabbit theme, he trades All Might's signature punches for kicks. My version's better. You ever seen Rabbit versus Gun? I have, and I know how it plays out.
Considering the much higher muscle mass of a human's legs, shoot style allowed Deku to output even more power while giving his arms a break. A break from a break.
Because
And
kicking's
despite being
fun.
a classic melee build, Deku
Yeah.
can fight at range by punching powerful gusts of air and even precisely aim them with specially designed gloves.
Deku has an encyclopedic knowledge of quirks and is always analyzing their strengths and weaknesses mid-battle, even if he does sound a little weird.
Despite only
Weird?
barely
Yes.
getting accepted in
Handy?
the first
Also
place,
yes.
Deku quickly became
It's
one
like
of
you
Class
taking notes in
1A's
D&D.
most dependable fighters. Because, yeah, somehow these students are constantly getting drafted into literal wars against murderous supervillains.
Midoriya's successes in battle against ruthless criminals like Stain, Muscular, and Overhaul came much to his old bully's chagrin. Where Bakugo was a child prodigy, he now found himself overshadowed by his hard-working rival, and the two would use their mutual respect and animosity to motivate each other to get stronger.
That's kind of
Classic
cool.
frenemies. They're only solving their problems by pounding the living tar out of each other.
Luckily for him, Deku soon learned that living tar pounding wasn't the only thing he could do. Turns out, One for All did not originate with All Might. It had been passed down 8 times until it arrived at Deku, with each
So he's
inheritance
number
also
9?
carrying the previous user's natural quirk as well.
Like Black
Yeah.
Whip, which lets him manifest crazy long and strong energy tendrils to tie enemies up and swing around the city, or shoot one out of his mouth, just like our girl Froppy.
And
So he's
Danger
Spider-Man.
which gives him a minor
Yeah,
reactive
he's
speed
basically
recognition.
Spider-Man.
AKA, he's Spider-Man. He can reach mangakas like the biggest Spidey fan ever.
He can also produce a smoke screen to mask his presence, float in midair, or store kinetic energy over time with Fajin. Oh,
Oh, okay.
Ugh.
So that's what that does.
Ugh, like that. By storing up enough, he can even match All Might's max power without any recoil to boot. Strong
Survive
enough to
the
change
nutshot
the
from
weather
Kota.
and create
That
city
sounds
block-sized
painful.
tornadoes with a single punch.
and he's even stronger with his newest quirk, Gear Shift, which allows him to increase the speed of an object anytime he touches it. In conjunction with the
Oh.
power of All for One, he can use this to warp reality itself. Deku can go toe-to-toe with arch-villains like Shigaraki, who's fast enough to react to and catch laser beams with his bare hands.
But nothing
Ooh.
could prepare him for All Might's archenemy, the shadowy leader of the League of Villains, All for One.
All Might only ever showed his young pupil kindness and support, but that couldn't change the absolutely crushing pressure Deku felt at every moment.
Even classically trained dickhead Bakugo came to help his teammate out when he needed it. Like when they teamed up to share One for All and punch an island-sized hole in the clouds 24 miles high.
This
Why?
goes to show that even One for All isn't a one-man army. Deku's
Fun
true
fact,
strength
that
comes from his
movie
teamwork between
was
himself
the
and his
original
friends.
ending
And with
for
their
My
help,
Hero.
Deku will
Oh,
surely
so that
become
was how it
that
was
beacon
supposed
of
to
hope
end.
he dreamt about as a
Yep.
child.
One hero for all mankind.
Damn, Deku. All right, time for Asta.
Magic! You know it, you love it, and in the world of Black Clover, it doesn't come from a box you bought at a tacky West Hollywood costume shop. Everyone's got it.
Mana is the source of all magic, a supernatural energy found in the air and in living beings. Except living beings whose names are Asta.
Not only was the young Asta an orphan abandoned by his mother at a church as a baby, he was born with a mutation that prevents him from having any mana to speak of. Well, neither do I, and you don't hear me crying about it.
Yes, you do, all of the time. But Asta had
God.
a dream.
The beginning of the
Despite
show was
his
funny,
lack
though.
of magic, he and his best
Yeah.
friend Yuno promised each other one of them would rise to the throne of the greatest military position in the land, the Wizard King. Wizard King? Really, guys? Sometimes they call it Magic Emperor, but we all know what they mean.
So he dedicated himself to getting swole as all hell in a world
Yeah.
of nerds. He would be
We
a
were talking
slow
about this
jock
earlier, Josh.
god, shoving every last wizard into a locker
Yeah,
until they
he
crowned him king.
he worked out
Striking
so
vector rolls on
much.
a tiny screaming goblin child weren't enough on its own. He needed something powerful enough to shut down his opponent's magic.
He needed the five-leaf clover grimoire.
Essentially a book of spells, a grimoire will choose its user and float beside their wielder at all times.
That's
and
neat.
Asta was lucky enough to receive the Una reverse card of grimoires. The five-leaf clover can harness the power of anti-magic, which will literally nullify the effects of other magic spells. Almost like wizard kryptonite. Let the locker stuffing commence! Get nerds!
It wasn't long before Asta was accepted into one of the 9 squads of Clover Kingdom's Magic Knights, the Black Bulls, filled with lazy
Man,
drunkards,
Captain Yami is
antisocial
just
otakus,
pretty
and
awesome,
literal
too.
sociopaths.
My kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
people. Yep, mostly. But much like with Asta, you shouldn't judge a grimoire by its cover. And soon they were all working together and kicking ass like a family should.
Asta harnesses the power of anti-magic by summoning swords imbued with it from the grimoire. Normally, these swords would quickly drain the mana from anyone foolish enough to wield them, but Asta does not have any mana, turning his greatest weakness into a one-of-a-kind strength.
He's got his classic Demon Slayer, an enormous great
Oh,
sword
they're-
which
they're
cuts
counting
through spells
Libe
with its edge and
uniting
deflects
with
them
him.
with
That's
its flail.
cool.
Or the Demon Dweller, which can also absorb and copy magic, then toss it right back to sender.
I think my personal favorite is the more complex Demon Destroyer, which severs the relationship between a spell's cause and effect, countering
Ooh.
the effects of its magic. This could result in anything from healing a village that was inflicted with poison to preventing reincarnation.
Yeah, okay, some of these can get a little heady. I personally prefer
Heady?
keeping it
Yes.
simple,
Cool?
like
Yes.
using anti-magic telekinesis to surf on your sword through the sky.
It's worth noting that these swords are made specifically for countering magical attacks and sources of mana. The
Okay.
swords will act as though blunted when striking non-magical foes, more akin to giant clubs than actual blades. Not entirely inconsistent with real-life greatswords.
But none of
Oh,
that's
okay.
even close to as cool as his deadliest sword, the Demon Slasher, a katana as black as the pits of hell and twice as badass.
This one actually does cut like a sword, but it's complicated. It
What?
lets Asta actually select what he does and does not want to cut, only affecting his target while leaving anything else unharmed.
Okay, at this point,
What was
isn't
that, Josh?
just magic?
What?
Magic
I thought you
with a
said
loophole.
something.
And he
Oh,
studied
no.
the blade long enough to
Still,
become a
that's-
master
that's an
swordsman
awesome
to
sword.
boot. Not in the real life
Yeah,
sense,
Demon
in the
Slasher's
anime
so
sense.
cool.
He can spin himself like a tornado to deflect magic spells, thrust forward at top speed like a charging bull, launch a barrage of anti-magic projectiles, and even channel anti-magic into his swords to vastly increase their size.
That's
Well,
a big
while
sword.
He may be no good with
Yeah.
fire, he has learned to detect ki, because of course.
The life force existing in all things. Asta can detect hidden opponents and even predict their movements ahead of time, as long as he's fast enough to react.
With such crazy powers, Asta was taking on threats like the Eye of the Midnight Sun, the Devil Zagrid, and the Dark Triad. So many nerds, never enough lockers. Too bad for Asta, though. He had one serious inner demon.
Literally, housed within the five-leaf clover grimoire was Liba, a demon exiled
it's
from
pronounced
hell
Liba.
for completely lacking magical powers, and who just so happened to get adopted by Asta's mother.
What?
Until he got possessed
Yep.
by a different demon and killed her.
I forgot
Vowing
that.
vengeance on all demonkind, Liba manifested anti-magic from his hatred as a way to kick their asses, which gave him and Asta a lot of common ground, despite the whole, mom murder thing.
In fact, the two became true brothers and formed an unstoppable duo. Liba can actually fully merge with Asta for a massive power boost that lasts up to 5 minutes,
Ooh.
at the cost of leaving Asta nearly powerless for the next half hour.
Come on, I want
I mean,
I'll take
it
if I get
works.
to be strong enough to slice
mean,
buildings to pieces.
Whatever
Break
works.
huge chunks of earth and tear the most powerful demons apart.
They're
to
fighting
make a
over the
goddamn
grimoire.
book.
That's kind of
The
funny.
book boy, okay? Even characters earlier in the series like Patoli had magic capable of completely vaporizing the entire Clover Kingdom in a single attack. And demons that Asta has fought since then, like Dante and Lucifero, are leagues stronger.
Hell, screw all these demon forms and anti-magic powers. Asta's body is so incredibly well trained, he dodged a beam of light fight while sleeping. As in,
What?
he was asleep, and the force of his sneeze pushed his head out of the way of a beam of light.
That
Lightspeed
doesn't make any
everyone.
sense.
And despite his headstrong and irritating personality,
AKA screaming at the top of his lungs as often as possible.
Asta's an intelligent fighter who has leveraged his skill against far more experienced foes.
But he wouldn't be anywhere without the ragtag band of deviants he calls friends. With them at his side, there's no way he won't climb the ranks to take the Wizard King's throne, especially with Yuno pushing them both to get stronger.
Unlike other classic shonen rivalries, this one isn't tainted by antagonism. They truly want what's best for each other, even if
They're
they're competing for
best
the same
bros,
throne.
essentially.
Yuno's gonna need all the luck he can get, cause even if Asta never gets mana of his own, his true magic is never given up.
Damn.
All right, the combatants are set, and we've run the data through all possibilities.
It's time for a death battle!
And we're gonna pause and... Okay, so how do you feel after hearing all that?
I still think Asta's got it in the bag. Like, he can unconsciously dodge things while asleep.
Well,
Like,
is that speed fast enough, though? If Deku can
It's-
slow him down?
I don't know. And it also just depends. Because I see a lot of pros and cons. I see a lot of interesting situations and scenarios. So Deku, as of now, he mainly uses his feet due to repeatedly breaking his arms. You saw that fight with Libe. Asta just had one arm. He used up all his knowledge that he had learned and that he had come to understand from all the fights, and he applied them. If you look at a side-by-side panel shot during that fight with Libe, it cuts back to him learning how to be more acrobatic and more maneuverable, not only in air but also like on the ground. I personally think Asta still has it in the bag. But that could just be favoritism.
It's
However-
possible, but your reasoning makes sense, I think. Because, like, I don't think Deku could fight back with all that recoil, whereas Asta, he could fight Libe with one arm.
Yeah. And especially with a sword that he hasn't really used before, because he got Captain Yami's sword, did Equinox or whatever it was called, and then, like, literally a short time later, had to fight Libe. Now, Asta, it's kind of not hard to swing a sword, but katanas especially are a different breed. There's definitely a different form, different method, different sort of care that goes into training when you try to use a katana. Now, in my personal opinion, as much as I love Deku as a hero and as a main character, he definitely has a lot of different beliefs. Deku is always going to be naive to the point to where it endangers other people. Asta will straight up murder somebody if it meant protecting the people he cared about. He's shown that. He's stepped in the way to stop people from being hurt. Now, Deku's done something similar, but Deku, ultimately, this is a death battle. It's a battle to the death. Deku would not take a life. Plain and simple. Deku
I think
would not take a life.
Well, one of the rules is that they take away those methods to make it valid. Specifically in Aang versus Edward, that was a big rule. So I think that applies here. But you were talking about Deku had a lot in his arsenal, and he does. But is that more than what Asta has as well?
Well, if you look at it, I know it's different power scaling. I know quirks are different than magic. If you look at the feats that Asta has accomplished, they're all physical based, I had done these on my own.
Right,
Dodging.
where Deku has to scale.
Yeah. He has to allocate, and like his method, his power comes from his quirk. Just like Asta's power comes from, well, in a sense, from his grimoire. But take away the grimoire, Asta still is ripped as hell.
And it's just
He
like,
still has those reflexes.
and even if Deku could like break Asta's bigger swords, I don't think he could break the katana. Because like Asta can make Demon Dweller grow to whatever size he wants, essentially, right? There's no limit on that.
No, he could slice the whole earth if he wants.
So I think he could block, Deku's Black Whip and everything just with Demon Dweller.
Yeah. Also, let's do another thing. Let's bring up Ki versus Danger Sense.
Oh yeah, true.
Danger Sense is a quirk that grants you, it is kind of like Spidey Sense. It's kind of like a reflex. It's like, oh, I can sense this coming. Whereas Ki, it's kind of a give and take. It's like, I can predict the next person's move. I can see what's going to happen. It's not future sight, but by any means, but you still have to take the time to focus.
Right.
And Danger Sense is kind of like Spidey Sense. So like, Asta may be a little short when it comes to that, because again, it's something in the heat of battle you kind of have to focus on. But when you compare it to dodging light in your sleep, it's still subconsciously happening all the time.
But going by your logic, the Ki sense might be better just because Asta's faster.
Yeah.
Josh, I was very nervous leading up to this, but I think you've calmed me down quite a lot into being confident, thinking Asta can win this.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I believe Deku has a good fight, a tough fight. But I think if you just... it's basically... how can I say this? Don't get me wrong, Deku has put in hard work. He's put in time and effort to get to where he is. So has Asta. But Deku has had to work on physically allocating his body to be comfortable with the outage from his power, whereas Asta had to get strong to be able. Now that I say it out loud, it's kind of like the same thing.
Okay, but I think overall, Deku has the better arsenal.
Oh,
But
he
Asta-
leagues ahead.
But Asta's speed and that Ki sense could probably counter that a lot easier. Especially smoke screen, now that I think about it. Because, like, if Asta can detect his Ki through the smoke screen, then that's not going to do much.
Asta can fly. Deku can float. That's another thing. Deku, all he can do is float. He can use Black Whip to pull him towards things, or propel himself forward, or use Air Force. But Asta can fly. He can cover entire countrysides in a matter of minutes.
Okay. So, I think I'm going to stick with Asta winning this one. But I won't be surprised if Deku wins, but after hearing what Josh has said, I feel way more confident with Asta. So, are we ready for the actual fight?
Yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1, here we go. I gotta admit,
A sword that big? He's gotta be crazy strong. I'm gonna have to rely on more than
the
just
arena
my
looks
power to
great,
take him down.
and Deku sounds pretty good.
Just gotta hit him really hard.
And I really like Asta's voice.
Oh, and they're spawning environments.
Oh, that's cool. That was definitely cool. Ooh.
This guy can give even Luck a run for his money.
Oh. There's that key sense.
Here we go.
Come on, Asta. Damn.
Aren't swords supposed to be sharp?
Oh yeah, quirks aren't magic. Fuck. Forgot that detail.
His speed isn't slowed by his sword's weight at all. Gotta hamper his movements and get that book out of his hands. Huh? He found me!
Oh, we can find him in the smoke screen.
Rooster style.
Oh, that's cool. Oh,
Now it's my turn!
that's clever.
Wait! Are you not using magic? What kind of magic emperor would I be if I can't beat a guy like this? Detroit Smash!
I love that little detail of Asta. Just a subtle annoyance. Oh,
Detroit Smash! Detroit!
he's using him as a yo-yo.
I don't know what Detroit is.
Oh, that looks so cool.
I'm ending this quick!
Oh,
Hit me with all you've got, because I'm never going down!
man. Oh. This one, I love the effects of this, man. They're really good.
Too. I like the pixelated look.
On like the 3D background, especially.
No use not going all out anymore. I just gotta hit him really hard!
Oh,
You wanted my best? Here it is! 1,000,000,000%! Plus Ultra!
oh, that's cool.
I did it!
Asta's still kicking.
Take that, Detroit.
Asta really hates Detroit. Asta wins! Let's go!
Asta won. Hell yeah.
All right, time to see why Asta wins.
Shoved him into that great big locker in the sky.
Both Deku and Asta were fairly evenly matched melee fighters without any specific abilities to give one an easy edge over the other.
True.
Though, to be fair, the variety of quirks Deku inherited from past users of One For All did make him more versatile and unpredictable.
Yes.
Plus, quirks are biological mutations, not connected to some supernatural energy source like mana. So Asta's anti-magic powers were basically useless here.
And Deku was generally a smarter and more tactical fighter, but against Asta's incredible might, this time Brawn beat Brain.
Really?
Let's crunch some numbers! Deku's greatest feat of strength was splitting that enormous cloud formation with Bakugo.
By measuring the size of the island and comparing it to the clouds above, we can determine they dispersed over 63 trillion kilograms of water.
Okay.
That's the weight of the Great Pyramid of Giza. 12,000 of them!
And required an energy of nearly 80 teratons of TNT per punch.
Oof.
Let's compare that to Asta. But Toli's spell was going to be strong enough
Oh, yeah,
to
wasn't he, like, in
vaporize
the
a
first
country
season?
the size of the Clover Kingdom.
We can use this map from the manga to estimate the size of Clover Kingdom to be about 500 kilometers in diameter, about half the length of Great Britain. Vaporizing
Okay.
a country of that size would require an energy of over 480 teratons of TNT.
Damn.
Over 6 times greater than
That's
Deku's
kind of
punch.
close.
While Asta uses anti-magic, it isn't an automatic counter. It needs to be comparable in strength to the spell it's combating. And Asta's gotten way stronger since.
Asta was also quicker. Sure, scaling to Shigaraki would give Deku roughly light speed reaction time.
But Asta could dodge light.
This is what you
in
were
his
bringing up,
sleep,
man.
and
Like,
that's
you
his
called
base
that.
form. even before transforming with Lipa to get way faster.
And since Deku and Asta's precognitive abilities more or less matched each other, it was only a matter of time before Asta simply overwhelmed him.
Especially since Deku has struggled in the past against faster opponents. Sure, Deku was smarter, but if he literally didn't have enough time to come up with a plan of attack before getting hammered, his brains were wasted.
Deku's tactical brilliance and harem-scarum tenacity definitely gave his opponent a run for his money. But
Definitely.
Asta's raw power, blinding speed, and deadlier weaponry spelled the end for All Might's pupil.
Ooh.
Deku gave it his all, and I wish he had won. Hasta la vista.
The winner is Asta.
Let's go! Asta did it!
Hey,
Asta
if you want more
did
Deku
it.
ASAP, why not grab a membership? You'll get exclusive emotes, badges, live chat,
Alright,
live streams,
so
and a
I
bunch of
think
behind-the-scenes
there's
stuff.
a-
Just click that join button. Thanks for watching.
Alright, I'm gonna stop right
think-
here. Go ahead, Josh.
I think Deku made a mistake with trying to go all out, especially at the end, because Danger Sense could have been activated right there. Because
True,
you saw
yeah.
there was a couple seconds before the swords impaled him, Danger Sense could have activated and told him. But because he used all of his, like, he used, what, 1,000,000,000% of
Yeah.
all for one? Or one for all? He couldn't activate Danger Sense. Danger Sense it was null and void.
Yeah, that's understandable. Okay, so season finale of the show. I'll just get this over with because one of my friends wants to see the season finale as well, so that's going to be a separate video. So I'll just see what it is because I have no idea what it is. It is going... What? Well, like I said, I'm going to be talking to my other buddy about this at a later date, but I gotta admit, you know, Josh, you definitely helped me calm down with the whole Asta thing, because I was nervous for the 2 weeks that were leading up to this episode. Because, like, people were bringing up, like, all these quirks that Deku could do to, like, slow down Asta, and I just got really worried.
No, and there's definitely some leeway. There's definitely some room. But Asta just had it. He was more physically stronger, and he had a better reaction speed. Plus, he is separate from Danger Sense.
Yeah, and if even and with Asta being faster, he could probably like get around that danger sense anyway.
Yeah, you can't react to something you don't even know is coming if they're too fast for it. Only way to do that is have future sense, but the quirk's not future sense, it's danger sense.
Right. So, that was a fun episode. I do want to ask you, Josh, because you haven't seen Death Battle since you were a teen. How did you feel about this episode in general?
I was happy with it. I was happy with it. It's definitely improved from when I was younger. And it seems like it's definitely grown a lot.
The channel definitely has grown. They're going to be approaching 10 seasons. They got their own dedicated channel at over like 5 million subs or something like that.
Holy crap.
And there was an episode that did last time. I want to send it to Nightfall, Brian, because I know he's into one of the series. Last episode was actually Sauron versus the Lich King. Lord of the Rings versus World of Warcraft. I think he'd be into that.
I think so too.
But as someone who hasn't seen Death Battle in a long time, it's great that you really enjoyed how it turned out after seeing it all those years ago.
Yeah, I also like the improved commentary. Like it makes it seem like the announcers actually have of course they have personalities, but like to see it like even animated is better than just hearing stats and then watching a fight.
Right.
So it was nice. I really enjoyed it.
All right, and last question, obviously. I feel like this is a no-brainer, but I want to ask it anyway. Do you agree with the result that they came with Asta beating Deku?
I do. I just wish that, like, they got Deku down to a T, and Asta as well. Because, you know, fuck Detroit. But I kind of wish that there was more, like, to see a longer fight, you know?
I mean,
But that's just me, because they really just showed, they didn't really cover much of the quirks, like Danger Sense, or Gear Shift, or stuff like that.
I imagine the Danger Sense was, like, when he realized that Asta found him.
Yeah. True. I completely forgot about that, but yeah.
I do actually want to... I'll go back and see who voiced who later, but they got their own voice actors now. That music in the background is custom music, by the way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and, like, that track is out by itself as well, so you can listen to it on its own. I can actually, like, send it to you later.
Cool. I like that.
But hey, you know what? I think overall the episode was great, and I'm happy Asta won.
This is just such a good MC.
Yeah, and I know there are my friends who also were into Deku, and they were really hoping he wins. I'm sorry, guys, but don't be discouraged just because Asta won. Deku's really great in his own right. So, with that being said, I'm going to do my outro. Thank you folks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Josh, I really appreciate you coming on. Like, it's fun.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you inviting me on. It was fun.
But you folks, let us know your thoughts on Deku versus Asta down in the comments down below. And like I said, Fireball and I are going to talk about the season finale, so do not spam the comments with that. Josh, unfortunately, does not have any social links, but if you want to see Josh more, we're over doing D&D stuff on a friend of ours' Twitch channel. And maybe one day Josh will make a Twitter. Who knows? Joey has one, man. Come on.
Maybe one day.
But
I don't.
thank you guys for watching. I will let my guests say some final words to end the video, but I will see you all later. Josh, end the video however you want.
You're all lovely people. Don't forget that you're loved. And people love and cherish you. Have a good night.